Episodes of the Green Corn Rebellion Show are sponsored by Oklahoma Progress Now. Oklahoma Progress Now is a 501c4 organization focused on building progressive power in Oklahoma. Their primary efforts are on developing progressive content for a 21st century audience, coalition, and capacity building across progressive organizations and causes, and working to see elected leaders who are more responsive to their constituents and the needs of the many. Areas of focus include progressive messaging and communications, coalition building and resource sharing, and focused progressive policy goals. You can check out their Twitch live streams, and they go live on Facebook on at noon, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Please support this organization. It's a really great organization. It's just getting started here in Oklahoma. Thank you. Now enjoy the rest of the video. Hello, this is the Green Corn Rebellion Show, and today I am here with my friend and comedian, Melissa Nichols. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Greg?
I'm doing well. First question I have here is where are you from and where did you grow up at? Could you tell me a little bit about your childhood and upbringing?
I grew up in Florida, and if you don't really know the demographic of Florida, there's a couple pockets where there's a lot of Greek people, and that's where my parents met. And they met at like a weird Greek party, got married, had me in their 40s. So I have very old parents. No offense. They
No,
won't
my
watch this.
parents are old too. My parents are old too. Like my parents were 36 when they had me. So not as old as yours, but still old. I get what you're
Yeah, my
saying.
mom was like 43.
Wow.
So yeah, like my older sisters, whole different generation. They're like Gen uh X? Is it X?
Well, if
For
they're
like
born in the
people in their
70s,
40s?
yeah. Yeah, then they're X then, yeah. If they're
Okay,
in their
yeah.
40s right now, yeah, they're definitely X. They're
So it was early
Xers.
80s. Yeah. So I had like really older sister my poor family. No, I would say they won't. Not that they won't watch this. I won't tell them about it. What? No. They're like Fox News Republicans. Way. That would be so traumatic for the entire family. But yeah. So my parents are both Greek. My mom is kind of like like she's from the island of Samos, and my dad is from more like mainland Greece. Yeah, and they got married, and then I was born when I was born, they were like, yeah, when I was like 4 years old, they moved out of like Tarpon Springs where all the Greek people lived, and like they lived their whole life. My dad was on the hospital board when I was born. Like they were very entrenched in the Greek community there. And then we moved out to the sticks, to the middle of nowhere, and yeah, so when I was 4 years old. So my childhood was very different. Oh, that sounded okay. Very different from my sister's childhoods. Um, and for a lot of reasons. Just kind of a whole different, like my parents were in a different place with their beliefs and everything by the time that I was born. So I just had a totally different childhood. My parents became like Christians when they were like in their 30s. So my sisters were like 10 around there. So basically, my entire childhood, I was mostly marked by like chronic illness. Like, I don't even know why I'm talking about this because you just asked me where I'm from. I'm sorry. I like had a shot for real. But anyway, yeah. So I just mean like I was homeschooled. So that makes a difference just because like in terms of where I grew up is very different because I didn't talk to any of the kids. And also I had a chronic illness, but that's just more like why I slept till noon. Like I just also didn't have friends, and that was mostly from being homeschooled. And I was home from school from like third to 11th grade. So yeah, so majority of my childhood, I was in like a very conservative Christian household that homeschooled me in the middle of nowhere, and I was Greek. So I wasn't even
Okay.
like white, but you know what I mean. It was just like a weird transplant because I remember being Greek so vividly. It's like my first memories were attached to like Greek culture. So to like not be raised around any of it was very weird.
That's interesting. Um, so what got you into comedy and what are some of your comedic influences?
Yeah, I decided to do comedy right after I left Christian boarding school. It was a very strict school. Like women couldn't wear pants. You couldn't see like anything on the internet. I didn't know Beyonce self-titled dropped. That's how much I didn't have the internet. Like I was like, Beyonce did what? That was how bad it was. So when I got back from that, it was around like 2014. I read a book called How to Succeed in Business Without Really Crying by Carol Leeper. I'm blanking on her name, but she was in Seinfeld. She wrote for Seinfeld. So, yeah, Carol Leifer, that's what it is. So, anyway, I read this book and she mentioned open mics, like doing stand up for the first time. And I was like, you can just do that? They just let you get do that? And so once it was like in my brain, it was just like in there and I had to try it. And I did it for the first time when I was like 17 and it was mortifying and I didn't do it for like 6 months. But once I started doing it, it was like one of the things that propelled me out of like my initial like evangelical Christian upbringing because I was like, I like this dumb bullshit more than God, like easily, easily so much more than God. So I just probably should rethink some things. And that's really how I got started. So I was like 17, 18 when I got started.
All right, that's cool. And what all have you done with that? I remember you were telling me that you had a 30-minute special prepared or whatever that you were about to do or release or something.
Yeah, so I'm currently kind of in the like crowdfunding phase. There was going to be a lot of like live performances, and I was going to be touring for it, like touring like cheap girl from Florida touring. But so I was doing like for queer comedy festivals around the nation, and like I only had like a 2 or 3 setup, but it was really exciting. I'd never really like traveled or like planned to travel for comedy like that. And then it all got canceled for COVID. My comedy career is going amazing. But I did actually make a full recording of a stand-up comedy special. This is what I would have been performing at the queer comedy festivals. And it was a special called Girls Can't Be Pastors. And it was about 30 minutes long. Like you mentioned, me telling you about. Yeah, and luckily I filmed it in November, so I have it right now, and I'm just working on getting it done with my editor. And I'm probably gonna have to fundraise a little bit for it. That's really what's been taking so long. But yeah, because you feel bad. You're like, COVID's happening, and you're like, okay, but my comedy special though, like, what about that? You need medicine, but I have a comedy special coming out, so let's really like priorities. Um, yeah, so but a lot of people want to see it, and honestly, like, I'm really proud of it. I really want people to see it. So that's definitely what I'm working on. I would probably say I'm gonna get serious and post a Kickstarter probably within the next month, especially once I start the YouTube videos going. So expect to see it in a few months. The Green Corn Rebellion fans will probably hear about it first because Greg is a very kind friend and big fan of mine. So I'll probably be posting about it, y'all. But yeah, so I would say within the next year, I wanna launch that. And basically, to give a summary of what it's about, um, when I was like 13 or 14, I had kind of a really like traumatic experience around like church, and I don't know, like kind of like the theme, like the name, girls can't be pastors. The idea was like, I figured out, okay, well, if girls can't be pastors, they can't be comedians. That's not gonna fly. um, and so it was kind of like acknowledging like the anti-intellectualism of it, and also tells a story about my childhood. I've been hesitating to give it away because it's like kind of a spoiler, but there is some like pedophilia themes, etc. I tell a true story about my childhood from when I was like 13, 14 to 16 years old. And it's a really cool show because it kind of, I don't know, it meshes rage and humor really well. People get really angry for you when you talk about things like this, and I think I was able to synthesize it in a way that's fun and engaging. Not because I feel the need to make it, but I had told iterations of the story that felt way too serious because I'm a comedian. Like, that's how I communicate, is through jokes. So I didn't want to over dramatize it.
All right, that's cool. And what made you become a leftist, and who were some of So who are some people that you enjoy watching and listening to who have influenced your views?
So it's honestly kind of embarrassing, but really Chapo was like what I can remember really like influencing me and like changing my mind about things because I just remember in 2016 I really liked Hillary Clinton. Like I don't mean in like a way that I thought about it a lot. I definitely liked Bernie better, but it was like I am an emotional person and I got really caught up in like the election and like she's fierce. She knows what she's talking about and she's going up against a man. You know how they are. Like and it's just like and it's very cringe looking back on it. And that's yeah. So and I remember like my partner getting me into Chapo around that time. Um, and that was like really like the eve of my kind of transformation, which is weird because like, and I've mentioned this to you before. One of the most radicalizing experiences in my life were going on mission trips, like Christian, evangelical, right wing, basically mission trips to Brazil and Palestine when I was 13 and 14 years old. And I mean, every place worldwide is really important for working people, but to just Brazil and Palestine is just like such a crazy synthesis to me. Um, and it really did. It changed the way I looked at the world, mostly because when I came home from Palestine, my mom kind of was like, through her opinions, basically was like, "You didn't see what you saw. This is how I feel about Palestine." And I was like, "That's crazy, though. Whose passport was stamped, Elaine?" Because I was there and I saw it. So why are you trying to convince me otherwise? Like it just introduced me to a world where there was more than one truth and how many truths there could be out there, just depending on um, your socioeconomic status and how white you are. So that was really radicalizing and kind of so another really big influence obviously is Michael Brooks. And that was a big part of it to me, like, and why I think it's so important for people to dig into their context and where they're from, and what about them or what about their life has radicalized them in any way, because like being able to hear about Brazil, what's happening now and what's happening in Palestine now, and to be able to like contribute to leftist creators in Palestine, like the way that that warms my heart and the way that that feels so like fulfilling and kind of circular to me, like I want people to have that image of the world, you know. So I definitely those are big ones. I'm trying to think. Richard Wolf is a gigantic one, because I'm obviously I'm doing the worker cooperative stuff. So I really learned about it from him, and Cooperative Jackson, which I heard about from him. So that's a big influence. Yeah, I would say those are the main ones.
All right, cool. And could you tell me about what your YouTube channel is going to be about? What kind of things are you going to do on there and talk about?
Yeah, so basically, the three elements of the YouTube channel are going to be food security. I believe every person deserves not just access to food, like access is such a stupid word anyway, but like healthy food and like fresh food. You know what I mean? Because we all don't eat healthy sometimes, but most of the world doesn't even have access to it. So it's really important to do and to deal with food deserts specifically, which is large spaces where a lot of times people don't have cars because they're poor. um, where there's no grocery stores, there's only Dollar Generals, there's only convenience stores, there's no fresh fruits and vegetables, fresh meats, just a diversity of food. Period. So I want to be talking more about food security and what the rational like next steps are for changing the the food landscape of your community, like not just my community. I want other people to like start thinking that way, you know. The second thing is democratic work. I'm really interested in worker cooperatives. I really like got really interested in that in culinary school because culinary school, like they're not going to teach you how to cook. It takes like 10 years to learn how to cook. Like it's kind of a thing. It's like playing violin. Like you have to kind of slowly build those skills and you're always learning. You never stop learning how to cook. So really what they're trying to teach you how to do is have, okay, here's some basic skills, but more importantly, let's prepare you for the industry. And preparing you for the industry in 2019 is just like preparing you for a wood chipper. It's just like, how can you pretend to care about these kids when you're like, yeah, $12 an hour, and what? what? Like, it's just so crazy. It's so crazy because you know they can't pay their rent with that. And
Yeah.
like they talk about it like they understand, but then they don't all of a sudden. So I really think it's important to talk about democratic work. And again, what are the things within our reach? If you think about like our generation, you and me, we have large amounts of people very educated, very skilled, very hardworking, afraid, in danger of, being deported, being homeless, being food insecure. And we're ready to work. We're ready to make something that's better. And that's frankly able to weather the storm of the economic crash that we're in right now. Like worker cooperatives are much, I don't want to quote it because if it's something, I think it's like 10 times or something, and I don't want to say it wrong. Maybe I'll like put it in the comments in this video. But worker cooperatives are much more resilient in times of economic downturn than normal businesses are. And when you think about venture capitalists, they're looking for return on investment, okay? And really good ideas that change the world take time. So what's important is that we build communities that have worker cooperatives that are really specialized around their problems. A lot of people have problems with food insecurity, but there's problems with transportation. I mean, there's there's all kinds of things you could do. I really want people to use their different skills. And that's the entire idea of the YouTube channel is like, this is what I'm doing. Here's like how it can be adaptable to other places and times and, in a dialectical material way. And then the third thing is obviously social and political commentary. I realize that's like a huge thing, but I think the way I explain it is like, I think probiotic foods are really good, or probiotic, like probiotic bacteria or bacteria in general, is a really good way to look at politics. Because you're talking about like in your gut, for instance, like in your gut microbiome, what determines whether or not you're healthy is, are the good bacteria in majority or are the bad bacteria in majority? And so there's a lot of easy ways to kind of understand large groups of people with bacteria. Because if you think about it, so there's more cells of bacteria in your body than there are like human cells. Like there are more bacteria in and on you than there are human cells in your body. You're more bacteria than you are human. So being able to understand kind of these like molecular structures has been really helpful in understanding people and places and things. So I really want to people, places, and things, just all things. But yeah, I basically social political commentary to me is like, how do people move? What there's these groups in the world. What do they think? What is their imagination? Like the reason cops kill black people around the country is because they have this twisted imagination that Breonna Taylor was dangerous. Like there is some really like sick, twisted imagination there, and I want to dig into more of why people do that. So there's a lot of like stuff there, but I wanted to get into more of those kind of like complicated topics that are more wide reaching. So that was so I feel like that didn't make any sense. I hope it will make more sense when I put out videos. But yeah, that's what my channel is about.
No, it made sense.
Good.
And the last question I have here is, what kind of music do you listen to?
Yeah, so I listen to a lot of rap and hip hop ever since I was I mean, I've listened to it my entire life. It's just been like, there was a period of time where I was really like shamed in my group and my like social groups. Obviously, Christian evangelicals are like racist. Oh my God, that's crazy. But yeah, I actually have a joke about this. I have a joke about this in the special, I think, where like all the like white people I knew growing up, I was like the first kid in my youth group to like Christian rap.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, no. And I was like, why, Josiah? Like, what about the Christian rap? What about it bothers you? Just that, what about what specifically? Just if we're um yeah, so I've loved hip hop basically my whole life. But yeah, I've listened to a lot of different things. um I've mentioned this to you before. I have like 4 different playlists that I run around in a month because I have ADD, and if I don't like purposely switch around the music, I will just like get very monotonous. immediately. So I try to kind of listen to everything, basically. I know that's like such a like 2009 boring answer. Like I listen to everything, but it's fine. We're boring and we're 2009, and
Hey,
that's what it is.
you might be 2009, but I'm 1999, so.
Yeah. Some of the stuff you post about like your like metal fan clubs. I'm like, yo, what? What is this community? What is happening?
Who are some of your favorite rappers?
Yeah, so I love Flo Milli. I like her new album, but I love Beef Flow Mix. I love that song so much. I heard of that song from a fan cam of Jabuki that does not exist on Twitter anymore. If somebody has it, please send me the Jabuki fan cam because I miss it. But I was like, what is this song? And I love that song. And that is the song that's in that Michael Brooks fan cam that I post on my Instagram.
Hmm.
That's the song, Beef Flow Mix. But yeah, so I love Flo Milli. I love Kamaya, No Name. I like a lot of female rap, but this is not like only female rappers. It's just like definitely fresh in my mind. You know what I've been listening to a lot, like all day today, is there's this WAP remix that is Body Party by Ciara. Ciara. Um, so yeah, Sierra. It's like a pretty old song, and it's just like the beat, and it's like WAP but R&B. It's so good, and so I've been listening to that all day. But yeah, that's a lot of what I listen. I listen to all different kinds of rap and older stuff. I made a Michael Brooks playlist, and I put "The World Is Yours" by Nas on it. And then when somebody asked Leisha on like a live stream or something what his favorite song was, she said that, and I was like, so
Yeah. Well, that's all the questions I have here. Thank you for coming on.
yeah, of
Um,
course.
where can we find you on social media?
Oh, you
Huh.
paused. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay, yeah, I can. I didn't know
Okay,
I
okay,
paused.
perfect.
Okay. Where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, so you can find me. It's Melissa Eats Her Feelings, exactly how it sounds. That's on Instagram. My Twitter is M Nichols Comedy. And if you go on either of those, it should have the information on there. But there's a really petty contest that Tampa Bay has every year called Best of the Bay from with like Creative Loafing. And I was finally nominated for Best Stand-Up Comedian. And just I've been toiling as a Tampa Bay stand-up comedian for 6 years. And I just got nominated for the first time. So I want a petty win. It's really important to me. I basically have more Twitter followers than any stand-up comedian locally. So I expect to procure the win. So vote daily. You just watched this. This is all you've seen of me, but please vote daily. It's very important. You won't regret it. You don't have anything better else to do. But that's pretty much where you can find me. Yeah, M Nichols Comedy on Twitter is where you'll see me talking to Greg most of the time. So that's where it's at.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.